Hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my, well, let's call it an overview, but it's a bit of a special edition of a game called SYNDUALITY Echo of Ada. Yeah, of course, why not? So I played this in a kind of closed beta invite via Bandai Namco, and I've treated it with the same sort of paintbrush that I do when I do overviews, which is to say I just play the game for the first 2 hours. That's the Steam refund window. Steam reckons it's enough time for you to make up whether you want to keep a game and play it or refund it. And so I kind of agree. Gives you a soft verdict. The video is usually short and under 10 minutes, quite punchy, give you the broad ideas. And it helps me triage what I will and won't review going forward. So obviously this is a bit of a different case. It's not out, it's coming soon. So I'll just take you through my experience with 2 hours with this game. So 100-foot view, it's a Tarkov-like, a looter extractor shooter, except it's an insane anime bloody weeboo version, and I absolutely love it. As someone who, like, I played Tarkov in the early days, I've kind of fallen off it in recent times. It is one of those games, and, you know, good for it and its success, but you kind of have to keep pace with it and just mainline it like an MMO or something. Jumping back in now, there's been so many changes, it's kind of intimidating. I'm kind of happy just to stick with smaller projects, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels that way. So Tarkov is wonderful, but it's kind of too unwieldy for me, much like something like a Dota 2 or whatever. So it's cool to get on the ground floor of things like this, and I don't really love modern military stuff, which is funny given my military background, but I digress. I play games for escapism. This is really quite brilliant, and it's got a lot of inspirations, a lot of stuff thrown in, and so far it's working really well. The one big negative, which if you could call it a negative, it is an early closed beta build. I was getting some pretty bad netcode rubber banding issues. Obviously I'm an Australian, I'm probably not super high priority during this test, so I don't mind that. Hopefully it's ready to go at release, because I will play this at release. I am sold on my 2 hours. So essentially, yes, you do extractor runs in, and you're in this little bloody mech warrior. It's a bit closer to like a Warhammer Dreadnought, or even better, like a Killer Can. The little walker things. If you've been playing Helldivers, it's sort of like the walker heavy mechs that the automatons have. So we're talking something closer to like a power loader from bloody Aliens than it is like a monstrous super Gundam thing. And they lumber around, but the movement feels good. Your little dodge sidestep works really well. You bring in 2 guns, some repair kits, that sort of stuff, and you kind of fight these natural dog monster things. You can biff with other players, but it's a bit more like, let's say, the Dark Zone from The Division. You're kind of disincentivized to do it. You get marked as a bounty and kind of get sort of excommunicated and blacklisted from all the mission listings and that, so you don't really want to go rogue if you can help it. So the game definitely leans much more that way. That's its probably biggest deviation from something like Tarkov. It's very much more PvE with the risk of PvP going into it, but from what I can tell, that's not the focus. So yeah, you're in this little thing. It's called like a cradle coffin or something, because of course it is. And like all good bloody mech warrior weeboo things, you have like a throw pillow robot chick that is attached to it, and she sits in the back. You've got like a back seat for her, and then as I don't know, like a hollow projection of her floating around and gives you special abilities. I have actually had instances where she gets out to like open gates. I managed to get into a pretty high-end, almost raid area, and she like opens the door while you sort of wave defense. So it's all really weird and bonkers. You can swap out your like hull, arms, and legs for other bits of equipment. So that sort of customization is there. And I love the design. Even the default little boxy, it's basically a fridge with arms, which, you know, that's like looking in a mirror, I suppose. I just find all of it really smooth. The aesthetic, the design, it works incredibly well. It gives me these sort of heart-hurting yearnings back to The Cycle, if you remember that game. The game that did everything it could to blow its own foot off with a shotgun. That was so original and alien and interesting as a Tarkov looter shooter, but then, quick history lesson, they weren't happy with their sales figures or whatever, and they kept changing the game, and they kind of took everything that made it interesting and unique out of it and turned it into a generic fucking smudge of a game. And they killed it, basically, and now it doesn't exist anymore. So hopefully this doesn't happen. I doubt it will. It's got Bandai Namco money behind it, and it's very clearly Japanese developed. You've got a base just like Tarkov these days. There's going to be a lot of comparisons to Tarkov, obviously. But you do your runs, you pick up bits and pieces and you bring them back to build up your base, and it's all kind of ramshackle. I've upgraded walls and that and built an assembly line, so there's crafting. There's a little pre-sortie item shop where you can gear up before you go out, and insurance, so it's got all those trappings just through the lens of a JRPG mech warrior type thing. The environments are wonderful. The reason I had my tirade about the cycle is because they remind me of that. It's really beautiful. At the moment, it seems like just one map is available to me because it's early days. And this just rolling alien landscape with facilities, and it's overrun, and it's just really quite beautiful and vibrant. All these different colored grasses and all sorts of stuff. Like, seems like strange things to say, but you can see the footage. It's just really wonderful. One of the coolest things that they've added in is kind of a core to the lore. From what I understand, the world was killed by this sort of heavy rain, bloody acid rain crap. And so you have weather flare up and you have weather resistance on your mech, so you've got a little bit of a buffer. But essentially you get rained on, and I've had entire runs where I didn't have any rain at all, and I've had other ones where it's almost torrential storms non-stop. So there is variance. And the maps are designed in such a way, there are so many like overlooks, bridges, there's things to take cover underneath. And waiting out a storm while this acid rain finally stops, and it's very stop, go, like it's not like you're under there for half an hour, is such a really cool, you know, Death Stranding adjacent mechanic. I'm throwing so many different wonderful games in because that's what this game's doing. It's drawing from some really wild, different stuff, and it just works really well. So this whole bloody having to stand out, you know, stand under the bus shelter while the rain abates. And, you know, I've bumped into a bunch of other players and they're always friendly and emoting and waving at me and that sort of stuff. I think I got in one fight with one PvP player, but you also get enemy, what do you call, like bad guy mercenaries patrolling around too. Yeah, the weather mechanic, the world, the way it works, you can wish list things, so your little waifu will bloody scan the environment and tell you if there's an item that you want to pick up. And at the core of it, you're actually sort of going out to drill these samples, these MacGuffin crystals that you bring back. But look, anyway, I don't need to waffle on anymore. If you're not big on Tarkov or Jaded or whatever, you know, I'm not against Tarkov, but it is definitely not for me. This is way more for me. I really like the wild stuff that they're doing, and I have no idea when it's coming out, but this build is really solid and there's a lot of polish in it, so surely it can't be that far away. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled, put it on wishlist or whatever. This seems like a really, really cool game, and I'm glad it just sort of snuck up on me. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being. I'll catch you guys on the next one.